Welcome to the Stay Healthy Experience. I'm Robert Ferguson, your host, and today you get to meet a young lady who is making things happen. Her name is Lola Mormino, and trust me, this is something that you want to share with your friends, your family, and if you have young kids, this will inspire them. So we're going to get this party started, and you get to meet Lola, the one and only. So Lola, thank you for making yourself available to come in and sit down with me.
Thank you.
Your manager or publicist, Joseph, nice guy. He loves your story and definitely is supporting you. And when he reached out to me and I learned a little bit about you, I was like, she's local. Why wouldn't we have you in here and talk to you? Because our thing is to promote health and well-being and thriving to live your best life. And you have been hit with like so many challenges from the day you were born. And now you're just thriving with it during a moment in time when we've had this pandemic and many people just gave up. So I'm excited to hear your story. So thank you for being here.
Thank you. Yeah, of course.
So I mentioned, you were born into challenges. Share with our audience, like what it was like being born based on what you've been told. Mm-hmm. A tumor as part of your birth, and then we'll go from there. How's that?
Yeah, for sure. So, being born with a cancerous tumor is, from what I've been told, not an easy experience for myself and for my mom, and obviously affecting everyone else in the room. It was pretty scary from what I've been told, and they weren't sure if I was going to make it, if my mom was going to make it, because it was a last-minute C-section, just because it was an extra 2.5 pounds that was stopping her from having me.
Wow, the tumor was that large?
Yeah, 2.5 pounds.
Jeez.
Yeah, so they were at first like, I don't know what we're supposed to do. It was stage 4 cancer. They were pretty certain that was going to be it, but they ended up removing it. They removed my tailbone along with that. So I've never experienced when someone says like, oh, I fell on my tailbone and that hurts. Like, I'm always like, oh, I wonder what that's like. Like, I don't know.
Right.
And during that experience, not only was it struggling with removing the tumor, the IV slipped out of my vein in my wrist and went through my bloodstream. So it gave me 3-degree burns from the bottom of my forearm to the top. It looked like an ice cream scooper, like took out my whole arm. That healed now though to a tiny little scar, which I'm proud of all my scars. But that definitely has shown me that I came out fighting. So that's really the only way that I know how to live. I mean, giving up is not really like an option for me, regardless of what the challenge is. It's just not really in my brain because of what I've been born with and how I started my life. That was how I started.
Okay.
And from 7 to 15 years old, I was diagnosed with vasovagal, which, like I was saying, it just causes me to pass out at any moment. From seeing blood to getting overheated or scared, shocked, I just passed out. It happened when I lost my first tooth at 7, actually.
Wow.
So everyone was like, why did I just like pass out? But then we got it checked and that's what it was.
Did they think at that time it could have been that you're type 1 diabetic or something like that?
I don't think they ever checked for that. Or they might have, but I think we were at our family friend's house and one of the women, she was a nurse and she's like, this is what it seems to be. So, it was a blessing she was there because we wouldn't have known. I just got tests on, my heart and things like that. And it just came out to be the vasovagal. And there was no cure for that. So I just had to learn how to work through that. And at 15 years old, it was happening like every night where I just would pass out from stress with school or whatever I was going through at that moment. And I just was like, I have to figure out how I'm supposed to work through this instead of letting that affect me to the point where I'm going to pass out. So staying open and just not bottling things up inside, I think that's the biggest thing that I've learned throughout all these experiences, because the second I seem to close off, it's like something seems to happen. So during those times of vasovagal, I had hip surgery. The ball on top of my femur started slipping off. And at first, no one believed me because I was just saying I had knee pains. And they just were saying, it's in your head and everything. But one of the last doctors, he checked for my hip and he was like, oh my gosh, like you were right. And I was like, I know this was what I was feeling. But that next morning I went in for hip surgery, and that took, I think, 12 weeks. So 6 weeks on crutches and then another 6 weeks just no activity. And that was hard because I was a pretty active kid too. And I just started playing hockey at that time as well. So I was like, all I wanted to do was play hockey. And I believe after that, either after or before the hip surgery, one of the times when I passed out from vasovagal, I woke up and couldn't feel my legs for 3 weeks. And the doctors said that it was a viral infection that settled in my knees and there was no cure. So they're going to have to send me home. And after 3 weeks, it was a horrible way of living, having everyone else do everything for you when you've learned how to work through things yourself for so long, even though I was like 10. So I just relearned how to think about my legs and got physical therapy. And one of the days, I guess I used a walker and just restarted with walking again, which was weird. And that obviously never happened again. And the last experience, or the last biggest experience I had, was in 2018 after a hockey game. My body just basically shut down. I was feeling off the whole game. Usually I get pretty tired in the third period, but the first period I was like, my legs are just super tired for some reason. And I got off the ice at the end of the game, and my coach was like, you look gray, so if you want to go get your parents, like, you can go get them. So I went to get them, and I told them, I was like, something feels off. And I usually didn't say anything until I was like, this seems like I can't do it myself, so we need to go get someone. So yeah, I told them, I was like, I think we should call somebody. And at that moment, my whole body just felt like it was moving through quicksand, and like everything felt like dark and the room was spinning, and just was like a totally out of body experience. And so they took me to, I was in Long Beach at the time. So they took me to the Long Beach, like, emergency room. They said some levels in my heart were raised, and they were like, that could have been because you were just playing, but we also don't know. So we'd like to bring you to the children's hospital right there. So for that first week I was in there, they diagnosed me with postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, which basically means when I stood up, obviously everyone's blood pools in their legs. My heart didn't work. My heart didn't get my blood back up to my head quick enough, so it was beating super fast to try and get it back up. One of the times my heart rate was 224 beats per minute. So it was just feeling like my heart was going to be out of my chest. They told me to have a high salt diet for that. So I think it was like 500 milligrams, which didn't, right. It lasted, I think, probably a day because I broke out in hives. Like, that's way too much salt for me. And then I went to the emergency room a couple times in between the first visit and then the second visit. And on the second visit, the episodes became longer, like up to 20 minutes of just me not being conscious. And like part of me felt like someone was standing on my chest or like choking me, and same thing, room was spinning, super heavy. I couldn't move my body. It was not a good sight. I obviously didn't see it, but it felt horrible. All the nurses, like some of the nurses started crying because they were like, we don't know what to do and everything. Wow. And they diagnosed me with a name that I can't remember, obviously, because they said it was a gray area, so there's nothing they can do about it. So I was like, then I don't have to, we're going to go. So right. There's no reason to even ask about what it is. So they said, it's up to you guys now to find people that will help me. This visit, I think, was 13 days, maybe 2 weeks. I'm not 100% sure, but around that time. So we left after 2 weeks of nothing. And then my dad actually found this natural doctor with supplements and herbs and all that. And he did a test that there was like a point in my thumb that connected to everything in my body. And from that, he found like 4 pages worth of health issues that I've been struggling with for forever, from like gut infections to Epstein-Barr chronic fatigue to Babisi disease. Like there were so many things that I just never knew about, obviously, I mean, there's no way I could have known. But from that, he was like, I promise you, he's like, I'm 95% confident that this will cure you. And I'm like, we'll see. Like, I've been told that you'll be okay, and I never was. So I was a little skeptical, but never closed off. From waking up and getting out of bed, it was a struggle, to taking showers. Like, I just couldn't be alone, like away from a parent at all times.
And at this time, how old were you?
The 2018, I was
15.
I think I was 16, turning 17. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think I was 16 at the time. So yeah, I took those pills for 2 months, and on December 27th, I had an episode that was like 15 minutes long. And then that episode, I like saw myself. I was in the bathroom with my dad, and like I saw the whole situation take place, and I was like, I don't know what that was, but I told him, and he looked it up, and it said something like, that was your body telling you it's done with everything. And after that episode, I've never had one since, and I've been 110% healthy. Now it's just very, like, I've had a cold here and there, but I mean, I'll take that over anything. And 2019 came around, and I just became depressed in a way, because I was so used to living my life so sick, and knowing that I was so sick without even realizing just was hard for me, because it was such a struggle. And becoming so healthy, I was like, I really lived 17 years so unaware that like life is not like that. So it was like, it almost put me in shock, just because I was so used to living one way and then completely the opposite. I resorted to like eating food a lot, just comfort and everything, because that's what I found comfort in. And then 2020, I was like, I definitely don't want to go down this path, because I've struggled this much. I'm not going to let it be where I'm healthy now, and this is the problem that's going to make me give up. Like, that's not how it's going to work. So I wanted to learn about the body and the mind as much as I could, because like I said, I was so unaware of it all. So 2020, I started studying to become a personal trainer, and that covered everything that I was curious about. Just from one of the things it said was like, in 2013, doctors just started understanding that surrounding areas might be causing pain, but the actual area of injury might not be causing pain yet. And with my knee, I was having knee pains for months, and nobody knew that, and it was in 2011. And nobody understood that maybe it was a surrounding area. Like the knee might not be the actual problem. It might be my hip or my calf or whatever. So I thought that was super interesting, because it was just helping me learn everything really that I've been through, from cancers to viruses to everything you could think of. So,
but what sparked the idea of you wanting to learn about being a trainer?
I think just helping others feel less alone, because I had a great support system with my family, but I still felt like no one just understood. So I think that being so young can help me relate to the younger crowd, but what I've been through is helping me relate to adults and people that might have gone through something similar. So I think knowing that I was able to help somebody in this field, this is like right up my alley. So I love to help people, and it's about health and the body and mind. So it's like two things that I'm passionate about. So
okay, so let's take a step back, because when you mention no tailbone, but yet you're playing hockey, which to me would be the sport where you're probably going to fall and you hope you have a tailbone.
Mm-hmm.
What was that like?
Like, I mean, I got tossed around because the first 5 years I played with all guys and they did not like me. And I totally get why, because I was the only girl. I started being the only girl in the league, and then it turned into, I think, a couple other girls on different teams. But they did not hold back. So they threw me around, and it never really seemed to hurt. I had gotten 3 concussions, but nothing with my lower body, which is very interesting. But
Wow.
Yeah,
So you get concussions playing hockey.
Yeah.
I mean, you never had a guy come fight you, right?
Well, the last 2 games that I played with all boys, there was a time that I tripped over their goalie, and he thought that I like purposely did that, but the goalie just dove to save the puck. But I guess it looked as if I was like charging at him, but I really wasn't. And he hit me from behind, so I retaliated a little bit, which I probably shouldn't have, but I was thinking like, this is my last couple games, so I'm like, whatever. And the ref stopped it right away, but they really didn't hold back. Like I popped my shoulder out one time because they were also like double my size too. So, but it was fun. It was really fun. So.
Okay. So with all of the challenges, like, and the victories with playing, hockey, you get to a place where you get your certification, and then you decide, I'm going to open up a personal training fitness studio. Mm-hmm. Is that how it happened?
Yeah, I became certified last June, and one of my goals when I started was to open a place of my own. And when I set my mind on something, that's really what I want to do. Yeah,
but where did you get that? I mean, is your dad or your mom, are they entrepreneurs? Like, where did that come from? The average 17, 18-year-old is not walking around, hey, I'm going to get out of high school and I'm going to open up a gym.
No, I mean, they both have worked and work super hard, but I think just from what I've been through, it's like I love doing things myself. So I feel that might have been what sparked that little passion inside of me. But I mean, it just happened smooth and pretty quick. And
did you go to your parents and say, hey, I need a temporary loan? Like, I mean, where do you get the finances to open up, and especially open during the pandemic?
I saved a bunch of money from obviously growing up, but then I worked for about a year and completely saved that money. And then building my clientele helped me as well. And the goal for my gym was to have a specific amount of clients. And by April 5th, that's what I had. So I think saving and just being super smart with my money, even though sometimes I was tempted, buy shoes. That's
right.
Things like that. That's what every teenager wants to do. But I did it in a healthy way where I wasn't restricting myself, but like I knew I had goals. So just keep it in mind, like don't go crazy with it. But no loans, everything from the ceiling to the towels in the bathroom, like that's all. I've done that all by myself. And my parents have always said, like, we can help you, like we can do this with you and everything, but they've done enough for me. I mean, they just went through 18 years of lots of hospital visits and confusion and upset. So, I mean, this is what I wanted to do, so I can do it.
Okay, so so I know where your facility is, Westlake, California. Mm-hmm. Not far from the Kardashians over in Calabasas, and a whole bunch of celebrities in the mix of that area. What can one expect when they come to your facility? Like, what are you offering? Like, so tell me about your business and what you're doing for your clients.
So most importantly, it's a very family feeling space. I know that in some public gyms, it's very competitive and, passive aggressive with your coworkers or even people training in there at the same time. So my biggest thing was just real, genuine energy and making sure everyone feels welcomed, no matter who it is, from when they step in to when they step out. Like I want them to feel like they want to come back. So that's most important. it's hard work, but we make sure that it's fun throughout the process.
And when you say we, because you're the owner and the boss, right?
Yeah.
So who's we?
So I've hired, I think I have 5 trainers now.
Wow, look at you go.
Yeah. So
there's people. I have 5 friends that own their own personal training studios that closed down during COVID, and none of them have reopened. And then I'm hearing you in your story with all the adversity that you've been up against. You're just like, I'm opening up a facility, and now you're thriving.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Just making sure, people. Okay. I just want everybody to understand that all things are possible.
Yes.
Even when it looks like it's not working out.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I and now we just want to make sure that it's a fun experience when they're in there, and like I said, that they want to come back. I started hiring people last, I think, 2 months ago, and I just wanted to expand the opportunities that people had in there. So I was big on sports performance because I've been in sports, but also I love general fitness too, because that's what I've been doing since I stopped playing hockey. But having extra trainers that focus solely on sports performance or solely on agility and speed, footwork, or trainers that like to train just general population, it was nice to have options for people. So if they didn't want to work with me or didn't want to work with a male trainer, it was never like, oh, we can't take you. Like, well, if you don't want to come with me, like, I have 4 other people you can choose from. So I just wanted to give people options, definitely.
Nice. So how often has it happened where someone comes in because they see the new studio and they're like, okay, well, and you greet them, right? And they're like, is the owner here? Can I talk to the owner? Does that ever happen?
I get a lot of questions of like, you did this all yourself? Like, this is everything you've done by yourself? I'm like, Actually, last night, somebody asked me how many trainers I have now, and they were like, you're a CEO, like, you're actually a boss now. And I'm like, it's weird. Like, I can't believe it. But yeah, nothing like that has happened yet. I do have a work number that they're like, hi, I'd like to speak to Lola. I'm like, this is me. This is my number. So like, it's fun though for me to be on both sides, definitely.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Well, I love everything you're doing. I think it's great.
Thank you.
Where's the future for you? Like, you have your studio. You've overcome a lot. You're 18.
19 next week.
Okay. So 19 next week. So where are you headed?
So I want to definitely expand my gym. I have a whole blueprint laid out by my desk in the gym of what I want. Just a lot more options as far as different, like, turf, tracks, batting cages, basketball courts, stuff like that. Yoga rooms, cycling rooms. I also want to include like nutritionist rooms, like a separate room for them, or physical therapy, lounges, all things like that. So I just want to keep working for that, but I also want to keep exploring and just learning more about myself while I'm doing this, and exploring the real world, just because I've been so restricted my whole life. Same thing. Yesterday, somebody asked if I've ever been to a college football game, and I was like, I have never been. So like, I just feel so ready to experience life now, while doing such great things with a business. So
well, I'm a nutritionist, and the world that we live in now, so much is virtual. And so if I could ever be an asset for you, I would. And I have other coaches that I could also make available to you.
Thank you.
So something we could talk about.
Definitely.
If there's interest.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Okay. So as I look at your situation and all the amazing things that you're doing, you're obviously very focused on being successful with your business and helping people. It's so interesting. Like, when you think of helping people, when people put that as the forefront, everything else works out. At least that's what my experience has been.
Definitely.
But when I look at you, and even at being 18, it reminds me of years ago, I was a wrestling coach And I used to have a martial arts school. And I was a wrestling coach for a high school called Channel Islands High School. And we had this young girl who was my martial arts student who wanted to be a wrestler. And there wasn't a lot of girls wrestling at the time. And she jumped into it. And what I've learned with her, as well as with a whole bunch of other athletes I've worked with, pros, Olympians, all that, women, and this is not a negative to the guys, but women, if I was going to get a trainer, number one, I would want a woman. Number two, I'm okay with 18. She doesn't need to be 50. And the reason why I say that is because that young wrestler that I trained, she had to rely on technique because she didn't have the strength and the push that the guys had. And they would then use the push and the muscle to make up for a lack of technique. So my assumption would be that you're out the gate looking at what's going to help my client, like more like a scientist, get to where they want to be.
Right.
And I'm going to rely on the science and the proper technique and form that's going to help them get there. Which I love that from a place of innocence and clarity. So anyone who's watching us talk and they live in your area, I would say reach out to this young lady because you're probably going to get the best training ever.
Thank you.
And then all of that said, are you available for people who live anywhere in the world?
Yeah, so I do online training as well. Yeah.
Good.
From Zooms to just sending workout plans, really whatever works best for people.
Well, there you go. So for those who are looking for a workout plan, you have something for them.
Yep.
All right. So they should reach out to you and make that happen.
Yes.
Which I love it. Is there anything else that you want people to know about either your story, about your studio that we haven't touched on?
No, I mean, that's pretty much it. Yeah. I mean, just, I would say keep going, keep pushing to whatever it is that you want to achieve because it's 100% possible. I mean, nothing's impossible unless you tell yourself it is. So I would just say keep going. Well,
so I want to add a couple things to our talk. There's a woman who I looked up to for years. Her name was Jean Nidetch. And Jean Nidetch she created this company called Weight Watchers. You ever heard of Weight Watchers? And I love Jean Nidetch's story because she did what she did to help people because she wanted to help people. And I feel that with you. So I would encourage people to reach out to you and get that. But I would also say, don't be so humble when you're having a conversation like what we're having. And I don't think you're like humble, like in a negative, but the additional things that Joseph shared with me and that I read about you, is so amazing that you were born with challenges, then you experience challenge after challenge, and now you're at a place where you're trying to help people overcome and deal with the challenges they're faced with. That is powerful.
You're right.
You know what I mean? Like that is like, that's what made Jean Nidetch amazing because her whole theory was you cannot be a Weight Watchers counselor unless you know the struggle. You follow me?
Definitely.
You know the struggle. And there's so many people that walk in that are 50, 60, 70 years old to your studio. And they're in the struggle. They're battling. They want to be healthier. And even though you're not 50, you know the struggle. I mean, that's powerful, man. Yeah. So, right. I'm a cheerleader. I'm in the background going, go, go, go.
Thank you.
Because you get it. And you know what? That'll be with you for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, definitely. Doesn't go away.
Yeah. No tailbone at all.
Nope. It does not go away.
Well, I love it. So do you have a website and all that?
Yes.
Okay. What's the website?
My first name, Lola Mormino Fitness.com. So.
Nice. So thank you for making time.
Of course. Thank you.
Keep us up to date.
Yes.
As we do more things, I would love to help share your story and what you're doing with other people. Because I can feel, I haven't even seen you work out, and one of these days I'm going to just jump off the one-on-one and stop by and check it out.
Please do.
So thank you for being here.
Thank you so much again.
All right.
Yes.